gonna get bit up by mosquitoes.
I hope not either, child. Child, I'm safe. Hey everybody, we're live again, and thank y'all for joining in. This live stream is really important to myself and Miss Tamisha. We are leaders of an amazing community together, and we're also both business owners and entrepreneurs. And y'all already know me, but I'll let you get to know Tamisha a little bit better. And I also want to prepare for this conversation because as we are having it, I'm thinking this may trigger people. This may be something that may feel a little bit like I'm not ready to hear that. I don't want to talk about that yet. But it's such a real topic because I'm in my 40s and I'm a caregiver now, and it's not because and it's by choice because some people are stuck with it because they're not prepared, right? So then they end up like my mother did, like, oh my god, like I now have to, because my grandmother has dementia and she went through her own bout with having surgery for cancer. She's a cancer survivor at a very late age, so that does something to your body. And we've found that as we get in these age groups, and we would love to hear from y'all too, because we're wanting to hear like some statistics and demographics, like how old are you when you started being a caregiver, when do you think you're going to be, what age you're going to be when you're a caregiver, because part of that planning process, I feel, for elderly care is thinking ahead about those things, so you're not kind of surprised or stuck there. But Tamisha, introduce yourself and then let's get into the conversation.
All right. So the interesting thing was, if you were to ask me this December of last year, I would have had this whole thing, baby. Tamisha, I'm the co-founder of Order Carter, which is formerly Car Hops Delivery, and I do all these things. Fast forward to May 2024. What's today's date? 23rd. But fast forward to today. Um, I am a human being living this life and just trying to figure it out, right? So, what I do for income, I do still have a food delivery service. It's called Order Carter. It's formerly known as Car Hops. Back when we started 2019, um, we started prior to the pandemic. And so, if you know anything about food delivery or delivery of anything, you know that it is steadily growing. And so, it's a business now that kind of runs itself. We don't really have to do much for it, which allowed for us to get back to doing what we actually love, which is branding and marketing. So, we have been fortunate enough this year for like all of the clients that we have so far has come from referrals. We haven't did any advertising. I don't even think I may have posted like one or two things to share what we do with some of our clients, but everything has come through word of mouth. And so I'm just really thankful to be here. I'm also now a caregiver as well. My partner's mom is with us. She's been with us for the last, I think, like 6 weeks now. So still very new in this process, but getting to this part of life, I'm realizing that I should have been trying to educate myself about what this really looks like a long time ago. My grandmother is in her 80s. My mom, she's fairly young. She's, getting ready to hit 60 in a few years. But still, like as life is happening as fast as it's happening, I don't know. I mean, I know it's happening fast for me, so I don't know, Allegra, if you feel the same way. But these years are rolling by. And as we're going to get into this conversation, you'll see that there's a big wave of people that are getting ready to need our help. Y'all, I don't know, I forgot what war it is because I'm not a history person, but after some war, about what, 50, 60 years ago, uh, they was doing a lot of, having a lot of relations, okay, when they came back. And that, our grandparents and our parents have a lot of siblings. I mean, y'all know that those households were not just, one or two children back then. It was, they had 10, 11, 12, 15 kids. And so they are all getting ready to be, and if they're not already turning of age or needing our care, it's getting ready to happen. And so um, I'm just thankful to be here. And again, I'm very new in this, and so I'm learning as well. But I do feel a need to just bring it to everybody's attention that if you have anybody in your life that is of age, you need to be kind of looking into some things. So excited to be here.
So I'm cracking up a little bit because I feel like, as you were speaking, it's kind of like we know that there's always something next. Like we all know that, but there's some things that you just don't actually expect. Like, but then again, like we said, there were statistics that I had the pleasure of looking up to Misha. Like, I don't know, God is just so good because I kind of walk into certain things, like my mom rushing into, and the way my mom had my Nana was that my Nana was going through depression, y'all. She was experiencing some things where she was living and she just wasn't in the best environment for her and her condition because we didn't know, what she was experiencing. She had a tumor. She was, and we know cancer comes from diseases, right? It's illnesses, right? And it's things that are trapped in our bodies and manifesting itself in a negative way. And so who knows what was going on, And so my mom immediately was like, what? My mom was depressed. So she snatched her up, took her out of where she was, and just brought her to Atlanta. Now, here's the thing. You don't think about what that incurred, what happens if you do that with someone that is experiencing dementia.
Right, right,
And that is what came out of that whole situation. It was like, okay, so now my mom was stuck with my Nana, with her in the house, not really having that transition opportunity because she didn't know really what to do next, because it's like, okay, I can't really leave you without knowing what's happening with you. So
mm-hmm.
she stayed with my mom for months, and my mom, luckily, this is what I think people need to know, is that there are resources, and my mom was able to find resources. I'm not a stingy person. I feel like once I know something that can benefit somebody, I'm going to let you know about it. You know what I'm saying? Don't get the whole bag away, but let people know that there are resources that are available.
Right,
And if you go to your local state, which I was talking to Tamisha about,
yes,
when you go to your local state, you can actually look up resources that they will give you, because technically, if you have a parent or an elderly that really doesn't is in transition and they don't really have a safe space to be in, right, a habitable living space, and you kind of have to have them in your home, that kind of impedes on your peace of mind, because now you're like taking care of a whole nother person, like another child in a way, right? It's a whole nother responsibility. And not to say you wouldn't love to do it, but if you are kind of shocked and surprised and you're living your best life and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I got somebody to take care of, it can really like hinge on your mental health.
well,
And go
and
ahead.
two things with that. So many of us and many people that are going to be watching this are either entrepreneurs or looking into getting into entrepreneurship. So I feel like if I was still, if I still had a 9 to 5, working in hotels or whatever I was, whatever I was doing, I came from the hotel industry. But if I had a 9 to 5, like back then, my life was somewhat um, consistent, or like I at least was able to uh, plan ahead, right?
Mhm.
But being an entrepreneur and running two businesses, there's a lot, like a most parts of my week I can't tell you what I'm doing next week, because it's all up in the air, especially the type of businesses that I run. It's not something that I'm know that, okay, I have this done this, like there's it's just not that, right? um so that, and then also, um it comes fairly quickly, most of the time. I guess sometimes people may kind of see it coming, but for us, it just was like boom, you know. And so,
Like an overnight thing, right? Like
right. So like
today.
I can imagine, because I don't have any kids yet, but at least when you're having a baby, you have 9 months to prepare,
Yeah.
right? Even if you wasn't planning on having one, and you was like, oh, okay, I feel something going on. Let me go to the doctor and check this out. Oh shoot, I'm pregnant. You have time to wrap your mind around it, like plan for it. You have that time. But more often than not, what I'm saying is you don't necessarily have that time. You it's a, oh, okay. You get the news, like, Okay, oh, this is what's happening. Okay, well, they're going to need extra care. Oh, okay. Well, my life changed today.
Mhm. Now, some of the things I think is really important about what you said is that, it does spring up on you for most people, because whoever thinks that something is going to just happen like that and you have to now take care and be the overseer of someone's life that used to be your mom, that, well, not used to be, but they used to take care of you,
Right,
um, or could be taking care of you, but now you're taking care of them. And I think that that has to be a realistic viewpoint for some people, because if you get into that space, like I was telling you, Tamisha, I said, because you're in the first 6 weeks, I said, when I came in, I actually had an advantage, because I watched my mom go through all of the, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And here's one of the things I will say. My mom had a 9 to 5. She has a 9 to 5. So it was hard for her too. Like, it still is. It still is. That's why, for me, I did step in, y'all. And here's the thing, because we all kind of do it in different ways. So I did step in because it was like, my mom was like, listen, something got to give.
right,
Right.
right,
And I told y'all I went through therapy with my mom. So in therapy, she's like, I just need some help. I said, I'm here. What you need? So in that time frame, we ended up, making an agreement that I would just be her caretaker, her caregiver. And my mom had already put in structures. And I told Tamisha this, and I said, planning for elderly care, especially when you're with your family and you're planning early, it allows you to kind of, like, for me, I think, distribute roles and responsibilities. Everybody's not good at everything, right? Like, there's people in your family that may be good at electronics and doing things and setting up stuff like that, and you use them, because my mom has like stuff everywhere around my nana's apartment to show
right,
her pictures and to keep her TV operational, to make sure that they're able to see her when they need to. um there's people like, you may need that type of support in your family, right? You may need to have someone to do all the resource guides and find what's out there for, if anything does happen. It's just like getting your will and testament ready, get your your death plan ready, right? Because you're not going to be here forever. Like, these are all really hard things, but here's what I love is that as I have gone through the process and watched my mom do it. Tamisha, remember I showed you that PDF?
yes, and girl, honey, I actually was looking at it today, and I'm going to get it printed out because it's actually a very cool resource. So, yeah,
And listen, I just, like, my mom has a lot of things that she did for my nana, but I just saw some things that I thought would be helpful. So I'm like, let me put this thing together.
and
And
what's really cool, what's really cool about that, and amongst just getting yourself organized and have a schedule, right? So those are the two things that I'm finding that is making this week far greater than or far better than week number one is being able to have everything in one place. So like I said, we have like just different things that the nurses leave and stuff that we have to keep for every visit. But then now I'm going to add this. I'm going to the printer, getting that printed out, and having this right there, and everybody in the house knows where it is. Everybody who comes to the house will know where it is. Like, it's just setting up those things in advance, because heaven forbid if something happens to us, then it's like, oh, people need to know where to
yep.
go, what to look for. So yeah, so
But
having
let me tell you, listen, you said you hit it on the nose, because let me tell you what I wanted to share too. And tell me what you think about this, because I know you're still like building on your concept, right? Because you're like, okay, this is what works. And we talked about this over the phone. Everybody's different.
right,
So what works for me and my nana may not work for you and Lance's mother, right? Like, and then also for me, I feel like I work differently because I'm more holistic, right? I'm not really the pop a pill for you.
yeah,
So when we do things, this is something that I think is really good to start planning for: building routines.
mm-hmm.
Building routines, because if you're actively, as the if you're seeing that, okay, this is a routine that I can get my mom into. This is a routine, because I'm telling you, there's some things that I'm looking at even with my mother, and I'm like, what routines is she doing? Like, what is she doing right now? What kind of healthy things? And
Right,
we're having conversations. I'm like, mom, try these apple cider vinegar shots,
right,
try this, try that. And the reason why it's so important, because it's not just what you're eating, it's also like, Are you exercising daily,
Right.
right? And are you moving? Are you doing things to make sure that your mind is always like?
Active.
So, what do you think about that?
Girl. Okay. So first. So you said we're in our 40s, right? Early 40s. Um, moving has never been more important to me than now because I see what happens when you don't move. And and that's one of the things that we're working on now because when a person hasn't moved for so long, your body locks up. The muscle become is like hard as a bone, and and that takes and literally an act of God to straighten the limbs back out and things like that. So you know, I say for anybody, um, as often as you can, one, remind your loved one to move, right, on their own. But then two, like even with us, we have a physical therapist that comes twice a week. But outside of that, every single day, we're working in these limbs and making sure that they move because look, again, our body. I've learned so much about the body in the last 6 weeks. This has just been like a total. That's why I said introducing myself. I have to give myself a moment to process who I am now because
Yeah,
I'm a changed person.
it
So
does change you.
yeah, no, you know what it does a few things. It makes me want to slow down my life a lot as far as just cherishing each moment that we have. Now I'm in the my body is healthy, my mind is healthy, everything is healthy. So I just want to cherish that. I appreciate it more than ever. And then two, again, does it make you very compassionate? It brings out a level of compassion with me, even when I. So this is a thing. So we have nurses that come in twice a week, and then we do physical therapy twice a week. And everybody who comes into the home, they always say a few things. Oh my God, your house is so clean. I love it. They always say that. But then they say this is essential for healing. And even that they talk about the energy that they feel. We have meditation music that's playing. We've saged, we've prayed, we do all the things to keep our own self sane, right? This is before us becoming caretakers, but um so my heart goes out to those people who necessarily are not living in those situations, because I can only imagine being at a place that doesn't promote healing, and I'm trying to heal. And so, it's just I encourage people to look at because and let me ask you this. So let's just say you necessarily wasn't in position to take care of your nana, right? To help take care of your nana. I would hope that you would think about the person in the family or a situation like you just want to put them in the best situation. So like it's like just because you're the daughter, just because you're the granddaughter, just because you're the son, the grandson, if you're not in the best position to take care of someone, you have to be resourceful and figure out who that is and work out a deal or work out um, terms and conditions with those people because the whole goal should be healing and living not just a long life, but the best life that you can, for that person. And I just feel like, oftentimes we may think that um, it's our mother, it's our dad, it's our grandparents, it's our something. So we have to step up and do it. You don't necessarily have. You need to find the very best person who is fit for it.
I agree. I think that that has to come with. I mean, it's a very sensitive thing. It's like an emotional thing for
It
people.
is.
And that's where everybody's situation is different too, because when you talk about that, I fully agree that if you are about someone's well-being, then you're going to find the best place. And that's why I want to talk about like the family planning process. Like, are you already thinking about that? Because that's part of like actually preparing for that wellness and that care later in life, because we're not going to be able to be independent forever. Like, even though my nana, she's 90, she's still very independent. Like, she cleans her house every day. She washes her own dishes. She cooks her food. Like, she dresses herself. Like, but she still needs support, and she still needs monitoring, and she still, needs to remember to take her medicine. And and there's things as you get older, to your point, where you'll start to, you do need to move every day. Like me and my nana, we go for a walk every day. We're together. So it's like we get some fresh air, get the sun, look at other people. And that does help your brain. It helps your brain matter, because while your limbs are moving, your brain should be moving too. Because sometimes when you get old, you stop trying to think about stuff. You get lazy in your head. You don't want to process nothing no more. People ask you questions. You like, child, I don't care no more.
Yes.
And, and then you have conditions. And if you have dementia, like, you start to repeat things of that are habitual to you. So if you are a negative speaker, if you practice negativity, and that's why I'm like saying things to my family and people that are going to be in that situation later on that need that care. I'm like, listen, let's work on that word now. Let's work on that the attitude now, because later on, that dementia or whatever it is that may come about, God, hopefully not, but if it does, because there are things that happen when we eat sugar.
Yes.
Sugar in the brain is dementia. So
Yes.
if we refuse to stop eating the wrong things, then we're going to end up with the conditions. But if you know that that's a possibility, because statistics we talked about is proven, then you got to prepare for that and know that, hey, listen, like I got to start practicing habits now that if I repeat with my dementia, I know they're going to be positive habits. I
Right.
know I'm not going to walk around talking about people and be negative and talk about how bad the day is. I know I'm going to talk about how the sun's shining and how everything is great and how the Lord is blessing me. Like, and so we got to practice those things, because our mind remembers things when our body doesn't.
Right. That's
That's what
subconscious.
I learned from my
Like,
nana.
whew, yes. Mm-hmm.
But you're right about people in the family. But here's what I do want to add too, because I watched my mom go through, shout out to her for pulling my nana out of that situation, because she was really going through a depression. You can go through depression at any age, it don't matter.
Right.
That's why you got to keep your mind mentally stable, right? Keep yourself in positive environments, no matter how old you are. But when my mom needed support, she was asking people that she thought she could depend on,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which were, family members, right? Sister, brother, people. And, for whatever reason, whatever situations, no one could really be there.
Right.
No one could really be there. And so
Mm-hmm.
what my mother did was she found resources that would aid her. She was her own advocate, right? So she went to like we told you, go to the state website for your state, look up elderly resources for elderly care. They have actual grants that you can get to, so they can have a place to live. You can get them, opportunities and perks where, like, sometimes I look at my nana, I'm like, Nana, you living better than me. She lives in Midtown, y'all. Like, she's right in the center of Midtown in the high rise.
Yes.
Baby, you don't get no better than that. And
Right.
you get the luxury car service. Let me get a piece of your life, because you live in large at 90. But
Right.
that's not stuff that, my mom was just like, oh, I just got it like that. Like, she went after the resources that the state provides. So when we're not educated on those things, and when we're not planning for it in advance, we miss the opportunity to get that resource. And
Right.
that may be the one thing that can kind of prepare you and your family to set whoever it is up for success. So, like you said, Tameshia, it doesn't interrupt your business life, it doesn't interrupt your job, and you can feel at peace knowing that you prepared yourself for that. And that's what I feel like family planning is. It's like come together beforehand.
And let me ask you this: why do you think we don't have, especially in our community, we don't have some of the tough conversations that need to be had, right? So when it comes, so um, I know for like maybe the not even the state ran nursing homes, but for a lot of the nursing homes, right? If you just had to put your loved one in a nursing home, and um, they were on like they have Medicaid, or it's something that they are not paying out of pocket for, and if they pass and they owe the nursing homes, they have like the right to take these people's houses, right? And so I'm just thinking like when everybody is in their right frame of minds, when everybody is pretty healthy, there should be some things that we as families go ahead and put into place Other cultures, I don't know if it's not too hard of a conversation. Like they'll go ahead and get wills. They'll go ahead and get power of attorneys, in place, in line, if such things happen. Um, the even like the pre-burial, like a lot of people, some people have picked out their plots and plan a whole funeral, and they still here living. You know what I'm saying? And I just
Yeah.
feel like, in our communities, and maybe it's just the families and things that I've been around, it's kind of like we're just not gonna talk about that.
Well, I think it's a combination of things because when you don't have access to information, like for a long time in our culture we didn't have access to that type of information. So it's like we learn late in the game about money, about capital, about like the world. Like we just learn late in the game about really our identities, and we're still learning. Like there are some people that I have conversations with in the generation before us that I'm like, you're definitely still in that mindset. And it's also mental health. Like, I can't tell you how many people that I've like come across that's like, yeah, I'll never get therapy. And I'm like, listen, you know, um, as much as we don't talk about some of the things that are in our families, it's because we have that family dynamic, right? And it's like what's in the family stays in the family, and that's
Yeah.
something that's passed down from generation to generation to generation. It's not until someone who's a generational curse breaker come
Right.
out of the dirt real quick and just be like, okay, so we're gonna talk about it anyway.
Right.
And everyone gets upset, but at the same time they're relieved because it's like, thank God you said something, because there's so many people that are going to be so relieved to know this in advance so that they can prepare for their future. What, like, how bad is that? That's so horrible that we have to hold this dis-ease inside of our family and let that manifest into what? Like, it's
Right.
not helping anyone not to talk about these things. So I think it's a combination of a few things, and we have to just kind of get into the right mindset, the type of the faith set that we need to be in, because it's like, what are you afraid of? If you talk about it.
Hmm.
And it's just a conversation that just needs to continue to be had. There are people having it. It's just not as, commonly accepted. And as long as we look at, you asked me a question, you said, what year do you think we're going to be at the peak of it,
Hmm.
where
what
everyone's
do you,
going to see that this conversation they should have been planning on, right? And I said 2027. I said 2025 at first, but then I thought about it because we did the research, and I'm telling you, I did a thorough market research, whole compliance and everything of, hospitals, laboratories, records of diseases, all the things that are happening that we're not even looking at. Like, you don't even look at that. Like, you're not looking at the WHO's, right? The who, what is it? The World Health Organization
yeah.
and the
Right.
CDC, and looking at all of these numbers that are showing the rise of unhealthy individuals. We're not getting any healthier as much as we're talking about it. The records are showing that we're not getting any healthier, and we're living longer. So the hospitals, as much as many doctors and nurses have quit in the pandemic, y'all, they can't hold these people. They can't hold people that don't have, family members and things like that. So you're going to find a lot of people that are going to have to be caregivers that are just kind of in this position. And so we're just saying, well, I know I'm just saying right now, I don't want nobody to be stuck with what I'm seeing, because it's already stressful enough to deal with someone going through those changes, let alone
Right.
not be prepared for it.
Yes. Yes. So research is key. And it's funny because I used to be or I used to be listening on a daily to like business audiobooks and podcasts and things like that. Now my feed is more healthcare, uh, senior care. I'm looking up different things that she's going through, spirituality, um, things to replenish my own cup. I spent the day Monday at Jeju's with my mom, and you just there's two pieces of advice I would tell people is um, to find a community of people that are walking the same life with you, so that even if they just text you a reminder and be like, go outside and breathe, or go take a ride around the block, or just the small little reminders to do something for yourself, or just a listening ear. So if something is going on and you don't want to talk to the people in your immediate space, because you don't want to bring that energy to them, but you need to release it somewhere. So if you're not going to journal it, you need to talk to somebody. So find that community of people that you can count on. And there was one more thing I wanted to leave. It was the finding that, and oh, it's gonna come back to me, but that's definitely one. You have to. Oh, but that was the other thing too. Is outside of that, knowing that you cannot do it all on your own. I know people personally who have tried to do this all by themselves, and they've ended up in worse situations than the person that they were trying to take care of in the hospital, in critical, condition. Like, so you can't do it by yourself. Like, it's impossible.
I love that advice. I think that we need to be, and we know that people aren't really going to always prepare in advance. Like we know that few people are going to look into it and say, okay, well, that makes sense. But listen, if you step into this manure pile, okay, and you're not prepared,
Hmm.
sorry. Yeah, listen, this is what's going to happen. You are going to be so shaken because it's not about can I physically keep up with the work or can I get it done? No, it's like how do like you're so much to do and so much to catch up with mentally. And then if you're dealing with, like, for me, I think the biggest thing, and I told you, it was like, why are you eating popsicles at 9 o'clock in the morning?
Hmm.
Can we get some breakfast? Yeah, yeah, sure. I don't want no breakfast. And you want to respect people's desires because
Right.
it's like you earn the right to have what you want in life.
Right.
So as a caregiver, you want to respect the person that you're taking care of in a way where they get to live their best life too. Like,
Right.
you don't want to be taking stuff away from them all the time and saying, no, you can't have this. I was just apologizing to my nana the other day. We went out to this like nice fancy Mexican restaurant. I had my margarita, y'all, and she's over here with her sweet tea, and she's like, we're eating edamames. And because she's never experienced some of these things, right? It's really new and different. But here's the thing, I do those things because we never stop living and experiencing just because we're older.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, if you're, like you said, if you have someone that you cannot provide that environment for them, then get some support from someone who can.
Hmm.
And
There's some non-traditional things that we see. I mean, I think you were even saying with one of your clients, and I've started looking it up. Was I'm thinking it's a cool idea, is to buy homes and have like private little nursing homes, and it's
adult family homes.
adult family homes. See, y'all, see,
Mhm.
it's already a term. Um, where there's only going to be 3 to 4 of them living in the house, and it's a home versus an actually like establishment. You know what I'm saying? So there's all kinds of
But
options.
that's part of family planning. Because Tamisha, think about what you just said, right? Like, adult family homes have always been a concept where people have been like, oh well, if like they don't want their family member to just be some random place, right? So they're like, okay, well, let me find a place where they can have a loving environment. They'll
Right.
cook for you, they'll clean for
Oh.
you, to feel like family with you, right?
Hmm.
But here's the thing, people have still had bad experiences with that over time, right? So a lot of people are like, yeah, I guess. But here's what I tell people: family planning can also include you getting your stuff together so that you include this as a business venture.
Hmm.
Buy a family home so that every single person in your family that becomes elderly can
Yeah.
live in the family home and have somebody take care of them. Hire staff. Get
Right.
the thing about it is that I think sometimes we look at this as like, oh my God, this is extra. stuff that I got to deal with. But this is part of life.
Hmm. Hmm. The other
We're
part to
all going to get older.
the other
And
part
go ahead.
to family planning, and this is something that my godmom was telling me the other day, because she writes insurance policies, and so she was talking about how important it is to start getting, is it long term like health insurance, basically, or and basically it's a policy to where if you need long-term care, so like if you need to go to a facility, or if you need to have, if it's all paid for. I remember she was saying, before her mom passed, uh like it was probably $1,000 a day for her mom to stay in the facility that she was living in. And this was like years, like over 10 years. And because her mom had already had this policy set up, when she had to go for, like, it's like long-term disability, but when you have to go for that, it's all paid for. You don't have, nobody's having to come out of pocket for anything. They're getting great care because they can afford to be in the best, situation or facility. So, those are things that we're like, oh, this is just an extra expense. But, you know do you want to pay for it on the front end, or do you want to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars more on the back end, or potentially have like the person's home taken away? So this, I think, and to the family planning. So where would you send people to go to get started? I know you said like your state's website, but just like
Yeah,
to
go to
get
your
an
local
idea.
state website.
Okay.
Hmm?
And I was gonna say, but to get an idea of everything to be thinking about.
Well, we listen, I'm still figuring it out myself. I'm not the expert here, okay?
Or
But I will tell you this, right? Some of the things that I consider is resourceful, and this is where we're ended and kind of come back with, and I think this is a discussion that we can continue. And I also, we do have a Win 411 page that we are launching. People don't know that, but I'm just throwing it out there because you're a leader. But we have so many resources that we have to put on that page. And this is one of them I want to add,
yeah.
because as women, we are the ones that are stuck with the responsibility.
Mhm.
This is just the truth of it all. So if we're going to be the ones responsible at the end of the day, then we need to be the ones planning.
Right.
We can't wait for somebody to tell us what to do. We can't say, okay, well, you don't have it, you don't have the resources right now, so just wait until. No, no, no. Start looking at things now. And actually, as we talk about this, I'll share those resources so we can kind of walk through that step by step together. And if you go to your local state website, like everybody, has a state website. So just go to what that is and look up. And usually there's a search section, or you can call them on the phone, or you can reach out via email. But look for the elderly care services that they provide, because there's always some resource there. Because think about it, like if you are homeless, or if you are a woman with children, like they have resources for everything in every state. So one of the things that I thought was really interesting was when I looked at my grandmother, and we just had her reevaluation for her grant. And I was sitting in the meeting and listening to the lady, and I have her information, and I'll be sharing that with y'all a little bit later, okay? Because I'm getting some more information myself first. But she gave me information because she was like, yeah, if you need more resources, I'll give it to you. The way that they're dishing out this stuff, like if you need transportation services for your elderly, if you need, you
Whew,
know what I'm saying?
no, no, no. Let me tell you. Just let's stop there. That alone. So, like, I think it was maybe week number 2 or 3 that we were here, and we wanted to take her to her primary care doctor, and because she's confined to the bed right now, but we are working with her on getting her moving around in the bed and getting somewhat, back mobile. Um, she has to be like going in a non-emergency vehicle, so it's like an ambulance, but it's for non-emergency services. $440, and that was the cost for the transportation, and insurance doesn't pay. So it was interesting. Like, I was like, oh, okay. Like, this is an
That's
airplane
there.
ticket. So I'm glad that you
The
said
thing,
that. Well, I'm
Hmm.
glad that you said that there could be possibly resources for that, because we actually have another appointment this week, and I need to start looking tonight to see what those resources could be. So I'm glad that you
Yeah,
said
and I'm glad that that's something that you could experience and say like, hey, this is something y'all don't want to experience, because that's exactly what the hiccups come from. People don't understand what is behind that. It's different for everybody, but it could be because now you're being charged for stuff because they didn't have resources in place, or now you have to go pay for the doctor's visits, or now there's a lot of different things that you have to look up and see like what first of all does the person that you're caring for have in place, all right? And then whatever they don't have in place, where do you get the resources to add to the benefit of it?
right.
Because it's not just transportation, it's also groceries, right? Like, are they getting
Yes,
food stamps?
no, yeah, no.
Like I mean, there's some things there because groceries, there's not just
But
groceries, y'all. There's also
supplies. I mean, you
good.
got to think about the supplies, the bedding, the the different washes. I mean, we have boxes of supplies that we have to have.
Hmm. All
Boxes.
of it. And here's another thing too, Tamisha, and we'll end with this and give some takeaways, is that I feel like, the reason why as entrepreneurs we're able to kind of have this conversation is because I think that we're more flexible.
Hmm.
Because when I had the conversation, and having a 9 to 5 is just, yeah, you may have a more set schedule, but it's harder to get away for emergencies. It's
Yeah,
harder to, take time outside of that because you have such a strict schedule.
yeah.
And so there are other things that you may have to do. And so that takes a lot. And I watched my mom go through a lot of exhaustion through that. She did a great job. Great job. And I look at that and I'm like, many people won't do that. Like they won't be able to do that. And so I want to make sure that we're understanding to ask questions all the time.
Hmm.
When you were saying you're going to go and you're going to ask, like, what do I need to be looking out for and things like that? It's the same way when you go to your doctor. When we go to my Nana's doctor, I ask every single question
Oh,
from medical to holistic to
hmm,
everything.
hmm. You have to
Looking
advocate
at
for it.
advocate for her. Yes,
Yeah.
you got
And let
to.
me tell you, because I'm sure all health professionals don't treat everyone the same, because I'm telling you, once you start asking questions and they understand that, oh, this lady got somebody advocating for her, they tighten up, and then they just start giving you information and resources. So you do not be afraid to ask any questions. And the more questions you ask, the more answers you'll get, and the more resources you'll get. And then it's kind of like being involved in your kid's school. The
Hmm.
parents who are actually involved in their kid's school get calls from the teacher proactively. They get all of the resources proactively because you're meeting them halfway. But if
Yep.
they feel like they have to call you for everything, or you're not, you don't need, they don't even, they've never seen you or anything like that, they're going to treat you how you want to be treated. You're really telling them, I'm not really into this, so just treat me, just give me whatever, and I'm just going to take it, and we'll just, you know. So no, ask those questions. These people need advocates, and you are there to be the advocate.
That's
It
a
was funny.
great. I
So
think that's a
no,
great way to close the scene,
but
honey.
it was funny. Just a quick story. So I remember, before she was released from the hospital. We had to go in to do like a little caregiver training where they kind of just went over how to change things and how to do things and all this. And so the first thing I said to the whole staff was in there, like from the doctors to all the nurses that were on the floor, like everybody was in there. And I said, I just want to let you know right now, I ask a lot of questions. And the doctor said, "Oh, yeah, I love questions." I said, "Well, great." And I just started listing them off, because I needed them to know that whatever they thought this was, it's not that. Okay, I need to lay the groundwork, set the stage, set the tone, and then I'm telling you, they will fall in line.
Questions will save a life.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like I don't think, and this is why being a caregiver is so important, and because you really are monitoring the wealth of someone's life. And so I think that it's just so important for us to know the resources. If you're not equipped to be a caregiver, like that means like in your heart and mind and spirit, because sometimes it's just too much to handle. Like I had one of my family members, she was like, thank you for what you do because I can't, it's just
Right.
not in me. And some people may think that's selfish,
No,
but I think it's just real.
yeah,
It's
when you
like,
know yourself, but that's why it's also important. I think every conversation I have, it always goes back to knowing yourself. And when you know yourself, you know what it is that what you have the capacity to do and what you don't have the capacity to do. And that's just the bottom line. Nobody can fault you for that. I
uh,
would never fault somebody for to telling me that I just don't have, because I'd rather you tell me you don't have the capacity than me thinking you over there having the capacity and you doing what you're supposed to do, and then I'm pulling up and it looks a mess. You know what I'm saying? So just tell me, then I know how to take it from there.
yeah. And you know, and that's perfectly said. I think it's just like the expectations, y'all. Don't have no expectations for people. Just know to be very realistic about this process. It is ask all the questions you need. We're just going to end it with that because
Yeah.
myself and Tamisha, we're going to regroup on this, have some conversations
Mm-hmm.
that,
Think that
oh
I think
God,
that this community can definitely be a resource. You know what I'm saying? So because a lot of us, we already established some nice relationships with inside the community, so to be able to be continue to be a resource and have a division just along just for that, just to know that,
yep.
we could come talk business, but baby, sometimes I need to talk life. you know
And you know, maybe I'll run because we actually been talking about that, and I think the whole community feels the same way. They're like, we were talking about how do we take some of what we do and make it on a personal development side, just like a hey, let's talk about life. And this is just one of those areas, and we've been doing more and more of that. Like you'll
Mhm.
see some of our community conversations, especially on Clubhouse and LinkedIn. We're going back on in June.
Okay,
So Tamisha, let's talk about it.
let's do it.
You know,
Let's
we
do it.
definitely need to.
And I just want
Um,
to say one more thing, because I think this is very important. As business owners, be completely transparent with your customers, your clients, right? So if you're a business owner and you're like a service based business, and we're getting back into that. Like I said, we have like 7 clients now, all doing their branding and marketing. And so um when I learned, at first I was a little nervous about saying, about telling them what's going on. One, I'm a private person, especially when it comes to my family life. So, I was always taught to keep business separate than personal. And so that's what I went into this doing. But it got to a point where, especially the first few weeks, where it was just, again, it hit us out of nowhere. And so we were trying to pick up life and and continue with life. But it wasn't until life didn't get better. Like these last 2 or 3 weeks, about 2 weeks didn't get better until I was really upfront and honest with everybody that we work with and our clients. And again, that's when I found out that 2 of our clients are going through the same thing. So they're like, "Oh my God, absolutely!" I'm relieved, because now we both understand when things come up. We understand what's going on. And then the rest of them, they're just like, I'm praying for you. I know either I've gone through it, I know people that have gone through it. So, oh, I got hit by something, y'all. Oh, okay, these bugs. But but I guess what I'm just saying is just make sure that you communicate efficiently and effectively with your clients. And I'm telling you, they will meet you halfway. They'll send you love messages out of the blue. They'll, understand where you need to readjust the schedule, or, move a meeting or whatever. Like, it just becomes a lot. You have a lot more breathing room. And so just don't think you have to be Superman, Superwoman, and keep everything, think that you have to continue to show up how you're showing up. No, because if you've built those relationships with your clients, they understand. And we're human. We're human first. We do business second, but we're human first. So I just want to make sure, because I was like, I wanted to make sure in this call, I got out as much as possible as far as things that I've learned on this journey in 6 weeks.
that was a lot in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, sis. So we're gonna come back another time. We're gonna let y'all know in advance, but we just wanted to do something for y'all today just to kind of start the conversation. All we
Right.
ask you to do is let us know, what you're experiencing. Please tell us if you're a caregiver.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're experiencing when it comes down to your time management, your organization, any stress, any challenges. We really do want to bring those up and openly talk about it. And so we can just provide solutions if we can as well. But thank you again,
Right.
Tamisha. Love you, sis. And we will see y'all on the flip side.
Bye bye.
Bye, y'all.